You know, we often joke that the mosquito is Minnesota's state bird, but there are a lot of other pests that take center stage during our growing season. How do we manage those pests? Well, here to help answer that question, or at least guide us through, is Jeff Hahn. He is a University of Minnesota Extension entomologist. Jeff, I know that people hear the term IPM, Integrated Pest Management, but most of us really don't understand what that means. Can you give us an overview?
Sure.
All right.
Well, integrated pest management is a sustainable approach to lowering pests to a tolerable level using the best combination of chemical and non-chemical methods.
Okay.
And it's a great philosophy to use for dealing with your pests. It is proactive, so it helps you to think ahead for pests that you may be dealing with. A part of IPM says that we can tolerate some pests most of the time, we can tolerate some damage most of the time, and so people need to understand you don't have to keep things perfectly pristine.
One pest that I know has really gone crazy, Japanese beetle.
You know, first, one of the things we say in IPM is make sure you identify your pests correctly, because and Japanese beetle is pretty recognizable, but you may go into your garden, you may see something, and you may wonder, wow, is this a pest or not?
Right.
And so just as one example, I had a friend who once called me and described this ugly insect he found. He sprayed it, thankfully, in his mind, and turned out it was lady beetle larvae, which of course are good guys,
yes.
Good guys and gals. Once we know what the insect is, we understand its biology. So in the case of Japanese beetle, we understand it comes out roughly the first week of July. That can be variable with the weather. This year it's definitely going to be early July.
Okay.
And then as you deal with it, you know, one of the things we talked about is, you know, how much damage can you tolerate? You have to set your thresholds.
Yes.
And you have to understand you're going to have some damage.
Yeah.
And so it's going to depend on the plan as to what you can tolerate.
One question I have is about those Japanese beetle traps. I've heard two different things about that. That one, it is a good thing, and the other is that it's a bad thing because it actually attracts more beetles.
Yeah, the bottom line is it doesn't prevent or reduce the amount of Japanese beetle feeding damage.
Okay.
While it captures what looks to be an impressive number of beetles, it's actually a small number in the big scheme of things. And there has been some research from the University of Kentucky that shows that it actually, in a lot of cases, draws more than what it captures. So in theory, you could actually create more damage for yourself.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Now traps under the right circumstances can be helpful. So while I wouldn't put a Japanese beetle trap out in my yard, if I was dealing with slugs, you know, you would put out, you know, like the damp newspaper, you can put out the pans with the beer. So traps can be useful. It's a great non-chemical thing. And of course, anything we can do along those lines is a useful, you know, direction to go. So
you do agree that you can put out a little beer for slugs?
You can. And if you don't want to give up your beer, some water and yeast would also do the trick. It's the fermentation that attracts them. Okay. But that, you know, would be an example of something along those lines.
Or you could use something like Pfeiffer's. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. And if people want to find out more information about IPM and about different, of course, pests in our yard, we will have a link from Dig in Minnesota to IPM and more pest management. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.